what I thought and how to do something really was insignificant because there are so many other better ways to do something, or just other ways that accomplish the same goal.
Yes. It's also coming to a point where you realize you don't have all the answers and you don't need all the answers to live through life. And that's a hard one to kind of get back in line with. Like, if you don't know, that's okay. Just ask. If you can't do it, that's okay. You will learn. Like, there's a freedom in allowing yourself to move through life at a pace that is not trying to know answers, fix everything, and support everybody and do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. How does that impact a relationship? I mean, do two people have to be going at the same, in general, yes, they have to kind of be going the same speed, right? But when you go through something as traumatic as what you've been through with your accident and everything else, like, how does that impact a relationship?
Boy, that comes to me with a lot of levels of different types of relationships. But generally, again, I have learned that the people that are in your life and they stay no matter how things turn out. Mm-hmm. And there's people who fade away because they are not interested in a relationship with you in the way that you've turned out post trauma, post whatever layer that you want to add to it, but that people do change in the way that they respond to you. And that's on them, not on you.
Right.
I feel. So.
And how much of that exchange is you saying, and you don't belong in my life anymore because I'm a different person?
Yeah, I think that's a really beautiful way to say it. I don't know. I've realized that I'm just not responsible for everybody anymore. And I think I used to live my life in a way that I thought I was responsible for way too much. So if somebody's not in my life any longer in a relationship, whatever format that is, I don't take it personally. I don't take it like there's something wrong with me. I don't take it in a negative. I take it in a positive because I know that we're all here to learn from each other and do certain things. And some people are just not supposed to stick around.
You know, I'm 55. I'm not the oldest person in the world, but I've been around. I mean, 40 years ago, I was in high school. And the fact of the matter is if you are a person like me who collects people, some of them fade in and out of your life and also back.
Yes.
And so, like, hey, I've been raising kids for 20 years. Of course, I was too busy to hang out with you. And it's like, oh, welcome back.
Yeah.
You know, and so that understanding, look, as much as getting old is not like the best thing in the world, it also is the best thing in the world because
I agree.
You can have all these wonderful gifts that you couldn't appreciate when you were 16, 40 years ago.
Well, you just couldn't see the value in things when you were young. And at least for me, I feel like I sit with so much value in places that I didn't appreciate many, many years ago. And I, even today, post my accident, I sit with so much more layers of value in a conversation, in a smile, in a not how it responds to me, where I think I used to do, especially within the world I lived in before my accident, was interior design, and it was super fancy and everything had to like be balanced and look a certain way. And when you approach your life from that perspective, it limits you, that you think that if you do something the right way, it will work it out, which I don't think that's how life really works. I think life is being able to take the good and the bad and learn from both and know that neither ever go away. So, yeah.
I like it. When you think about, well, let's stop burying the lead here. Let's get into the accident thing. So you're in this horrific accident and really shouldn't even be here. Like you should be dead. And so you've managed to somehow survive. And then you get to pick the pieces up. And that all sounds so horrible, but also, holy shit, you're alive.
I am.
And you have all these wonderful pieces.
I do.
And then you continue to like find ways to deal with it. So let's talk a little bit about the accident and really your rebirth.
Yeah. So it was a definite rebirth because I know that I was mid-state and came back. And the idea that I even came back is such a miracle. And that you and I are just sitting here talking today, and that I can even have this conversation is even another layer of miracles that have just grown into my life. And see, here's my TBI. I was answering a question and I can't even remember what the question was.
Well, we were getting into the accident and you were talking about like, the rebirth.
Oh yeah. So severe motorcycle accident, just a little over 3 years ago, where I was hit by a car on my motorcycle. They did an illegal U-turn, and that turned out to throw me up in the air and pop me back down and barely live. And then, was drop shipped into UCLA, and they saved everything. They had to put me back together in all kinds of parts and pieces. They kept me in a coma for a few months so that my brain could, I believe from what they've told me, could stop swelling. And these are all things I've been told, which is a part of my rebirth as well, is knowing that I don't know answers to a lot of questions about the trauma that I have survived. And I don't want to know those answers. I don't want those memories. So I feel very fortunate that the TBI has wiped away parts of my life that I don't ever really want to know. Yeah. So
when the accident happens, from what you were told, so there's obviously the impact, and then there's you landing. Were there any other damaging moments, or is it those two big things?
Meaning,
like, were you hit by a car?
Oh, I was. Yeah, there was a traveler on Pacific Coast Highway beach, and they did an illegal U-turn, and they hit me, literally side rolled me up into the air, and from nowhere. Like, it wasn't a good thing. It wasn't my fault. And so threw me up in the air 30 feet from what they've been told. And then the other beautiful thing is that there was an EMT and his wife on the beach right in front of my accident.
Oh,
so
wow.
He ran up and did whatever the things that need to be done with somebody who's about to die. And he was the one that said, she needs a helicopter. She's not making it in an ambulance. And he made sure that a helicopter came to drop ship me into the hospital because he knew it was really close.
Yeah.
And then there was also a really nice gentleman, and I don't know these people, but that he did a stopping all the cars from rolling over me. So he turned his car to the side on PCH to another part of saving my life. And then they put me in the helicopter, and as I say, drop ship me.
I know. I'm like a pallet of shit.
Yes, because it was, from what I've told, it wasn't pretty, but I made it. I mean, I'm sitting here, and I wasn't supposed to, and I wasn't supposed to even be able to walk, talk, speak, you name it. It was not supposed to come back. Yeah.
How much less of you would you, how much more could you have lost and still want to be back? I mean, it's one thing to I always want to live, but if you're just a vegetable, you don't want your family to go through that.
No, I don't think you do. I don't think any of us want to put layers of pressure or sadness on the people that are in our lives, the people that we love. And I don't even know, if I sat here today and could say, oh, if the accident happened and I turned into a vegetable, please just walk away.
Yeah.
Which some people want to be walked away from. Yeah. And I know that for the way that I live my life and the way that I engaged with others, I can't even imagine somebody being able to walk away from the relationships that I had. And they would have probably sat through a load of trauma until I passed, I guess. But so.
I asked that question because we've got some old people in my life, and they, they're struggling with their mental cognition, and you feel horrible. I look and I'm, I'll tell my friends, matter of fact, your mom is going to die. Yeah. You have to act like it.
Yeah.
And that means you got to be the boss.
Yeah.
You can't be afraid of these things. Yes, they are scary, but you have to go forward. By the way, here comes 15 new kinds of guilt that you didn't even know existed when you just loathe your mother and all these other things that come with it. And you're just like, I'm such a horrible person. So there's all this damage that is happening, and you can cognate your way through it.
Yeah.
But it's horrible. I would never want my daughter to have to go through that. And you don't get to pick.
You don't. My daughter just went through this whole thing with me. I mean, she was in her first year of college, and she, got picked up. And by the way, your mom's almost dead. And then back down and then sat there, held my hand
Right.
while I was in a coma, not knowing what she was going to get back. They didn't even know if I was going to live. And then that's my daughter going through all of that trauma because of the trauma that's happened to me. And that it's difficult, but I don't think we're in charge. I want to say that we want to think we are, is to how to do the right moves, but that's again, thinking we can control the outcomes. And I just think if you can try to start living your life from a place where you're not trying to control every outcome, that's a much safer place to be.
When you were in a coma, like from the moment of impact, someone else is in charge of your life. Was that primarily your daughter, or who was making the calls for you?
So no, the person making the legality calls was my ex, my daughter's father, Brian. He was in charge of the bells and whistles of what surgeries, what decisions, hand in hand with her. But he was the one making the final. Those were the final calls, was through him. So she went through that part with him, but not in the responsibility of next decision on a surgery, next decision on a hospital, all the layers that come with this kind of trauma. It's a lot of decisions as an adult can barely make, Yeah.
And had you known, oh, Ryan's going to be in charge of me in all these incredibly complicated, serious life and death ways, would you have picked him? Or,
yes.
My daughter's mother, we get along great, right? But it wouldn't be appropriate for her to do that unless it happened to be she's the only person to do it, right?
Yeah.
So, and not that I don't like her, we get along fantastic, but so you would have picked Ryan though?
I would have picked Brian because I respect him, and we have even though we're not in a relationship, everything about each other matched. We respected how we made decisions, how we raised our daughter, how we did our businesses. All of that was there. Now, he definitely loves the day that he's going to be hands off. He's been asking millions of times, when am I not the living trust, whatever.
Right.
And I'm working on that for a Father's Day gift. But then I have to think about all the decisions, and I have to put somebody else in responsible. And now that responsibility is going to go to Grace. Yeah. So
there's a fantastic book in this realm, and it's by a guy named Dr. Atul Gawande, who actually has been in the news a little bit because of he's one of the organizations that President Trump is cutting things on. And so I saw his name come up.
Yeah.
But he's remarkable in that he's I'm an oncologist and I'm taught to save everybody.
Yeah.
And so we'll go to these great lengths for a 0.5% chance that they're going to make it. And it's going to be extremely expensive, extremely painful. And I have come around on that. And I'm sometimes the answer is let nature take its course. And I'm paraphrasing a lot of books.
I know.
But there is a big responsibility. Look, we're the sandwich generation. And so there's a big responsibility to is this Grace's job? Is this my brother's job? Who is going to be the person that does that? And then communicating with them clearly, hey, this is how I want you to take care of these things. Oh, and by the way, every step of the way, you have to be my warrior, because if you have a DNR, if you have a pulse, and it's comfort care only or whatever it is, they have to fight for that because the hospital is geared to save you. So they're going to stick a needle in your arm and
keep trying to save over and over again.
Right. And then that person has to say no.
Yeah.
To the point of a UTI will kill you if that's the call. Right.
Yeah.
And they have to have the courage to say no.
Yeah.
And that's a very, very tough thing. We don't want to face that. And I know your whole thing isn't honestly about that, but these are realities that we're facing. And you didn't know this was coming.
Oh, I did not know this was coming. None of us did. And you don't know. You have no idea. And there is, the age thing that comes along with certain, ABCs about how life will change and who you need to do that type of thing. But you never know when your life is going to be so significantly changed because it's just, that's unknown. Yeah. And you have to be comfortable with the idea that whoever you've put those decisions, those decisions in their hands, that they would make the ones that you would want for them. And you're right. You sit and you talk and you kind of give them the bells and whistles of how you would like it to play out. Yeah. But that being that person and being responsible for all of that, that's a lot of pressure. Brian had to go through, I can't even imagine the amount of pressure, not just because we have a daughter together and he was trying to save Grace's mom's life, but
Yeah.
you know, he also respected me and respects me, loves me, is comes from a place of kindness and
Yeah.
not from a place of, some people come from a place of need versus, I don't know if those are the right words, but a lot of people make decisions on their self needs versus like a universal overall need.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think so. Yeah. There's also he is possibly going to be the only parent for Grace. Yeah. The entire time. And he's on this tightrope, and it's got to be terrifying. Oh, and by the way, everybody has a life to live.
Yeah.
And you have completely overwhelmed all of that. And they're all fine to take care of, but at some point you're like, I have to go back to school, or I have to quit, or I have to get a different job, or all these things that come into play. A friend of mine lost his life this summer. He was stung by a couple of wasps, and they killed him. And 100 people a year die from wasp stings.
Wow.
And it's not so much like, is he allergic? Because who gets tested for that?
Yeah.
But everybody gets some kind of swelling when they get stung by a wasp, and it hit him in the neck, and that might have been it. But there was a non-zero chance that he might have lived with the important part of his brain being dead.
Yeah.
And you just think about these things, and you're like, that is falling into someone's lap right now. You know, where we all have to do that. And I mean, that's life, right? This is all part of this whole thing. And so does it change how you live when you think about what tomorrow and 10 days and a year from now is? Or how does it, that reality that you could be gone?
I live a whole different life than I used to. I'm a whole new me. I was literally reborn into, the core is still the same, the person is still the same, but my beliefs of what I find important and what I do to stay present every single day is the only way that I've been able to survive. And not that goal has not been an easy one. Now that my brain's getting even stronger and better, or whatever words you want to call it, but to just stay present with a decision each moment of each day is not easy.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I do. I just don't give any, I don't give any importance to how things turn out.
Yeah.
I just do the best I can in each moment. And that's working out for me.
Sometimes, this is just Pete talking, but sometimes the best I can, like this morning, I was struggling to get out of bed, you know, a little bit depressed, a little bit tired. And I was desperate to come here because I love this stuff, right? But I just couldn't quite do it. I sent you a text. I'm like, I'm running behind schedule. Turns out I run my own schedule. So, you know, I can change it. But sometimes your best is exactly where it is. And you can't see my hand on the camera because it's down low. You don't have to jump over. And this is the thing I had to teach myself. You know, as a combat guy, we'd work 16-hour days normal, you know, 20, 36-hour days all the time.
Wow.
And you're straight because it's life and death. You're playing the game right then. And it remains, but it was really hard before to turn that off and just go, today the bar can just be on the floor.
It can.
And I can just cancel today. I can go for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I noticed about you, and this is just me noticing things, but you are not in a rush for anything.
Nope.
You don't have that panicky, go kind of thing. It's not that you're not motivated.
I'm very motivated.
Right. But you don't have that anxiety, that anxiousness, that rushing that comes with a lot of professional things.
I agree. And I used to live my life. I lived my whole life always in a rush, always in achievement and getting away from the bad stuff to get the good stuff. And my whole life leading up to my accident was on fast forward. And now I'm not. I again don't put any value on if I show up on time or if it comes out the right way, or I don't care. I just be. I don't care about the end result as long as I'm doing the best I can in each moment. That's all I can do. So being in a place where I have bad days still, and I wake up and some days are a lot better than others now, but there's still bad days. And there's still days there I don't want to pull myself out of bed. And I don't, all I want to do is like have somebody bring me coffee, please, all day or something. That's just like, that would be a great day. Can I just do that all day? And I've come to another place where I just let life happen. every moment.
What does that give you? Like, what does that do for you to do that?
Oh,
What's the
gosh. The value of that is not having any moments of stress, not taking on responsibilities that aren't mine, because it's so easy to take on a responsibility where you're, if I do this, I'm going to get that. And I don't take any moments and think that things are going to be a certain way because I do a certain thing. And that is living life from a place of presence. But it's mostly living from a place of not taking responsibility. And that means on everything. Yeah. I can be responsible for me, and me. Yes, me, and me. And then if at some point, one of my therapists told me, you focus on you, don't worry about the rest. And then I'd say, well, what about my daughter? And blah, 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 and how she feels and what she's been through. And I need to know she's going to be okay. And she's like, no, you just keep being you. And the more of you that you bring back into your life, you have more to give. So that's, again, from being in a place of me, I have more to give. So I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think it does. It makes sense to me in that and my brother passed away, he took his life. And it was during COVID when there was so much chaos and everything. And he had an alcohol problem. But in general, like, he was so tough that he struggled. He had all the help in the world. It's just, he was... Yeah, right.
Overwhelmed,
because the VA was there, the dog, the pills, all that kind of thing. We worked on all these things. And one thing he couldn't do, that he was incapable of, was putting himself first.
Yeah.
And he could not. I'm like, if there's ever a time you don't have to pay your house bill.
Yeah.
You can just go on a walk on the beach every day.
Yeah.
But he wasn't wired that way. And what made him a great dad was he wasn't wired that way.
He was a doer.
Yeah.
He was a fixer, a doer.
Yeah.
And I think that can take a lot from you in your life if that's what you make your priority as others, because then the take and the take and the take, eventually you empty out.
Yeah.
And then you feel not worthy. And then you have the ability to believe that you're not worthy of life or whatever,
Yeah.
So making sure that you understand that you coming first is actually taking care of others mostly is it's a lesson you have to continually teach yourself, because it's not one that's easy to do, especially as a parent.
Yeah.
You want to, trust me, I was the good mom for many, many years. And then she was the mom. And now I'm trying to earn my position back as being her mom.
Right.
But but again, it's those moments of trying not to take responsibility, and everything will work itself out. We're rebuilding this relationship. And that's how it goes.
It's true. And as you're saying that, I'm thinking, and I'm using my brother as an example. And let's be clear, I love my brother, and I wish he was sitting here with me, but he's not. And something takes all of us, right? So, and I am this old, where I was telling you before, a friend of mine a week ago today died at his desk at his house.
Wow.
A sudden, nobody was.
Nobody, and you never.
Yeah. And he's in great shape and everything, right? But one of the things that's a drawback of being so controlling and helping everybody
is controlling. Oh, absolutely.
And then it slides into being a totalitarian tyrant.
Yes.
And then the more you do that, the less control you have.
Yep.
And it's so hard, especially like just from the era of our parenting, where we're so desperate to help our kids that we don't do enough hands off and let that kid go, let him walk, let him ride their bike. I'm not even
fall.
You've taken on this responsibility of playing baseball.
Yeah.
You have a bike.
Yeah.
You don't need a budget. You have and so, but we haven't done that. And so it's very hard to allow that person to go on those walks they need to go on. And I'm saying figurative walks.
I mean, we have to let our children grow up and learn how to, deal with the good and the bad and the bumps and the bruises, because those are going to happen no matter how we guide our children. There's always going to be, again, easy and a hard route with a lot of things in their life. So as a kid, if we can start allowing them to take more time make those decisions. And I think it helps them grow up more, that we're not trying to solve it all for them in baby steps again, like,
Sure.
Depending on the age and what they're, but definitely stepping back and not trying to control that at a certain point is good for both of you.
Yeah. I am probably the not the person to talk to people about parenting because I was gone most of the time.
Yeah.
I was involved in my daughter's life, but you could only be so much. And she wasn't great on being on the phone. And so her wonderful mom, took care of everything. And I did my job. I sent them tons of money, way more than I was legally obligated to because that's my kid.
Yeah.
That's her mom. I want to make sure that they're all right. But that meant I was hands off a lot. And so
that must have been hard.
it was hard. It was hard. And there were times when I put my foot down, but I was very delicate when I did that. I'm like, I'm going to put my foot down. I get to be the dad. And this is one of those times. And I maybe said those words to Jennifer 3 times.
Wow. That's impressive, though. You have to understand that's impressive because a lot of relationships, no matter how you look at it, it's a yin and yang. It's a give and a take. And to have the patience to not always say and fill your needs outside of that box is, it's good. I mean, sounds good to me.
But there's a fault on that side too. Instead of being
yeah.
totalitarian, you can become not a parent.
Yes.
In a lot of ways,
absolutely.
I've had to try to figure out, like my kid's almost 30. She's wonderful. She's doing great. And so she doesn't really need me to, like, I always tell her, bring your jacket. She knows to bring her jacket, but there are very few things left for me to really guide her on. And I never really got the chance. And so I'm like, I guess this is just where we're at.
Yeah.
And it's not my favorite thing to not really have a job.
Yeah.
But that is the hand that life has dealt me.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Me too. Not working for the last 3 years has been a difficult struggle. So I understand that feeling where your life has changed. Again, it's control issues. Like, how can I lead the best life as a father, as an employee, as a homeowner, layers and layers, but life changes, and not working is a difficult thing to process through because you think you lose more control.
Yeah.
But you don't have to again.
Yeah.
You just have to make different decisions, I think. How?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I think my first thing was just trying to make decisions that were out of needs, not wants. Like, what do I need? Do I need that coffee or that coffee? Well, that coffee's this. Like, it's just decision making in a financial way. I had to start making decisions from a more practical position, not working, to not have to lose financially as much as I had built in my career and universe of life, Yeah.
Yeah. When you think about a decision like coffee, it's super easy to be super precious about coffee these days,
Yeah.
And I only started drinking coffee in my 40s. It just wasn't a thing that I did. And it's more for me like a ritual and a social fellowship kind of thing, And so, like, there are plenty of days where my special someone gets up and takes off to go to work. And I go, oh, I forgot to drink coffee today. Like, it's just not a thing for me. But I find myself like drawn in, like, oh, I got to get this fancy coffee. Because I don't even know how coffee tastes. Like, if I have really good coffee, I'm like, oh, that is good coffee.
Yeah.
But it's got to be like a certain thing. Otherwise, I don't even notice it. And so
I agree.
But we invest so much of ourselves in these decisions, cups, and all these things that come with it. And you're right. A lot of it just doesn't matter.
It really doesn't. And you don't realize it doesn't matter unless it's all lost and you have to make decisions from a different perspective. You just get used to how you live and your choices that you make because that's your environment and that's your whatever, your wallet, your bed, whatever you want to pull into that mix. It's like, it's what you're used to. And again, adjusting back to something different, something new when your life changes. But that's to me, again, it's a blessing. It has been like for me to actually think about what I pick up at the grocery store, because I really should only spend this amount of money right now. Like those being practical will, I think, stay with me in a way when I make a decision when I'm not having to be as practical in the future. But we get used to it. We get used to the options we have.
Yeah. I went through a lot of my own problems, post combat, because I was so keyed up, switched on, and living on my body
On the
chemically.
edge.
Yeah, my body chemically responded to that, so
Yeah.
I could stay on the edge. And so I struggled for a lot. Didn't know, but I was
Yeah.
struggling with what reality was. I was living in our world,
Yeah.
but my response to everything was 25 instead of 2. And
Yeah.
so I would get into. I hate to say I'm not an angry person. I'm way less angry now today than
I can't even imagine you angry, so that's just a funny comment to me because you're like a very calm person to me.
I've had to work at it.
Yeah.
I've had to work at it.
But that's life, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess that's sort of the thing I'm saying is like when you talk about these miracles that happen, I always say I have the fortunate misfortune of having a lot of time in combat.
Yeah.
And it has taught me so much, and it's made me who I am. I'm a very type B personality normally, but professionally I get hyper A, and I'm like, because it was life and death.
Yeah.
And that's the way I learned. And I've slowly retract myself more toward. I would say to my friends, you wouldn't recognize me if you saw me I am not the same dude.
Yeah.
I have to do all these. Also, if you saw me, it would look like this. I would be talking to someone and I would take notes. Okay, this is what I've learned today,
Yeah.
But I don't live in that world. I live in this world.
Yeah.
And this
it's
world
your
is
new
wonderful.
world though, right? I mean, to me, that's what I have had to learn is that it's okay to be this new person in this new world. And that is, we can't understand even being so different, but when it happens, you have to be okay with it being that different, so your life has changed and you went from being, whatever, if you put from going to A to B, but you've become a new person as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I'm still a taskmaster. I am the worst boss in the world. As I look in the mirror and I'm like, get to work, Turner.
So you don't know how to do self-kindness sometimes.
So for sure.
Yeah. And so that's what should be on the Post-it note on your mirror. Be kind to myself.
Yeah.
Not just to others.
You're right about that. There's a lot of that. One of the best ice-breaking moments when I was blocking some things is my youth pastor when I was a kid. We're still friends, and I love that guy. And he did so much for me when I was so wild and so young. But he's like, Pete, you deserve to be loved. And I was like, well, I never really realized I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And it sat with me for months, and I thought about the things in my life, and it made me take some inventory. And it was a bit, what was that, 5 words, something like that?
Yeah.
But I needed it.
Yeah.
And it was something that is obvious, but sometimes the most obvious things we don't consider.
Exactly. I mean, again, sometimes we have to have trauma to recreate ourselves. And but those are blessings and gifts like we're talking about. We don't realize the bad shit is a good thing sometimes. And sometimes the worst shit can change you and develop you and make you a better person.
Yeah. I used to work as a handyman back in the olden days. And one of the things you learn is that we all have too much stuff.
Yeah.
So people would hire me, hey, help me go through my garage. And I'm like, I'm going to take care of everything in the garage. But if you'll let me, I'm going to get rid of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Just let me guide you on this. And they'd be like, would you please? Yeah. And I'm like, hey, look at these 15 pictures.
Outside perspective.
Yeah. Look at these 15 pictures in your garage. You're going to put them on the wall today? Because we can right now put these on the wall. I don't know. Then they're going in the trash. And you're like, oh, man, this is a really tough decision. And I'm like, I am glad I can do it. We can go change tools real fast.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what? You're right. I don't need those.
Yep.
But we become so precious with these things. Someone in my life, they lost their parent. And I'm like, hey, look, here's the reality. No one wants that shit in their house.
No.
It's valuable to them and they're dead.
Yeah.
And that's hard, but that's the reality. And so you're going to take stuff to the dump. Yeah. You're going to offer it to people for free and then be like, no thanks.
Yeah.
And so we do put a lot of value in things that literally have no value. You're an interior designer. How many people are asking you for a shrunk? To create more closet space or a hutch full of china.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that stuff.
Yeah. And I think, again, the people we allow in our lives to help see ourselves better is of value. And we do hold on to a lot of shit, for no reason.
Right.
And this is going to sound silly, but I just literally have been going through my closet and my daughter's room and get just literally creating piles, yes, no, maybes, and then getting rid of like, probably more than 50% of what's in there because it just doesn't need to be there. Right. And it takes too much time and energy to even sort out why it's there. Like, what, I wouldn't wear that. I mean, yes, it's nice. It's cute. It used to look cute on me, or I don't know, whatever. But it is finding the sequence of self-care and not having that be equal to the value of what you own and how you look and what you do. Those are those are different perspectives. There's two different ways to lead your life with stuff or with being present.
Is this what's part of stepping into your miracle? Is that what it means?
That's a good question.
Yes. Gotta celebrate when you have good news.
Good. For me, I know that what sits here today, as messy as it all has been, is a miracle. And the goal for me was to share this journey with others that have gone through trauma and can find their way out in a positive way, like for them to, even with the mess, for you to see yourself as worthy. That's the goal for me of this book. I am a miracle sitting here. I am really, my goal in my life now is to share with others how little control we have, but how much control we have over each moment. And that's all we can do in a day-to-day basis. And so that's my miracle, is that I remember waking up over and over and over again and not remembering shit, not remembering if I ate, not remembering how it felt to walk or how I felt that. I mean, like, it was layers of that. And I had to slowly find my way out of that mess. And the fact that I did, I really feel like there's a gift sitting there, and I want to make sure I can share that with others. Yeah. My miracle, I want to just explode onto others.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
When you are talking, at times you will close your eye and you'll go into your personal studio. I call it. I'm in the studio. What happens in that place? Why do you shut your eye? Have you thought about this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good. Because I do. I still sit in different layers of living within recovery. And I know that if I'm accessing what I call the deeper parts of my brain that got deleted, I sometimes have to close my eyes to focus and to sense what I want to say next. So I just sit here awake and present and connected more by not viewing things. So I shut my my one eye, because I usually have this one covered.
Yeah. Are you shutting your right eye though, physically?
I shut both. Because a lot of the day as well, I will get through my home and like places that I know really well without my eye mask. I mean, without my eye cover on. And so, I shut both eyes. And even though, because this one does still work, just a little on an angle. So again, I got lost again.
It's all right. We are exactly where we need to be, because we have these things, like, because I wanted to get into like you waking up or wherever you get, but I first wanted to talk about your studio and what it's like in there, because there are times where I have said enough words in my life that my brain will shut off and it will just be like a machine gun, and then I'll stand back and I'll go, there, that was in there, and I let it out, because there is a process that we all go through and we learn certain things. And even though I haven't ever thought about that sequence of words, it's already programmed. And I enjoy these moments because I'm like, I know this stuff so well. It's automatic. It just comes out and I can hear me talking. One of the things you learn when you do a podcast, and we've talked about this, is I'm paying attention to you. I'm paying attention to me, the show, all these different things. I'm monitoring them. Yeah. And I can manage all these things. So when I get into that mode where I say something and it's authoritative, it's smart, I'll just sit back and look at my phone, and I'm like, look at me.
Did I just say that?
Yeah, it's amazing. And that comes a lot of times from me being in the studio and thinking about what I'm going to say. In my job, is conversations. So I've got to become a conversationalist, and I'm excellent at it now. But what I would do is I would think of, like, the question I want to get answered is, where are the bombs?
Yeah.
And so what's the question before that? And what's the question before that? And I
Oh.
would walk and I would role play with myself. It would look like I was insane.
Yeah.
But I needed
We're
to
all
have,
insane.
Yeah, that's true. I needed to have all the words. I needed to have swam in all that conversations.
Uh-huh.
And so part of that is getting into the studio to, like, clean everything out. And so that's why I think about that. The other thing I wanted to mention to you about when you close your eyes and go into your studio is it appears that your voice slightly changes.
Ooh.
And to me, my guess is that a little bit more emotion
Oh, yes.
when you get in there. And so your voice is a little weaker. I would say weaker, like in terms of, like, forceful.
There is more in when I speak my words. And sometimes when we really feel what we're saying, you can hear it and sense it as well. So the fact that my voice sounds, that makes sense to me. And at that moment, I know sometimes I'm just like, awake and alive brain-wise. And sometimes I just feel taken from. But when I close my eyes, it's just however I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, there's a part of that probably comes out, but I didn't really think about that. So yeah.
Yeah, but you are redirecting energy within yourself and how you think about these things. And so you're not as aware of your voice when you're doing that, right? And you don't need to be, right?
No,
you sound fine.
I don't care.
And I'm only noticing this, it may be 100 conversations before I really figured in, if I even bothered, who cares, right? But I'm paid to notice things. And so I notice these things and I bring them up because I know you've thought deeply about a lot of things.
I have. That makes me laugh because I think about, with such a traumatic brain injury, like the fact that I think deeply is like not how I would have imagined words coming out of somebody's mouth speaking about me. But I do. I go deep, and it's the only way that I can go deep is to stay present. Because we're going to have this conversation, and I'm only going to remember a very small part of it.
Yeah. And
I love that I'm going to be able to play this back and get the reboot to link into my short-term memory limitations. But yeah.
Yeah. When you think about your past life being, and really what I would say, a very successful high-end interior designer for very wealthy people.
Yes.
In a place with very wealthy people. So you're like, it's really incredible. How much do you miss that work?
I don't miss the work.
Okay.
I love that it's in me that I could do it again on a certain level if I needed to. But I don't miss, because I was such a caretaker within my work. Not all designers are caretakers, but I was a very good caretaker. I wanted to make sure that I connected with my clients. I did the right thing. We bought the right stuff. It was the right price. Like, there was always me trying to, like, kind of monitor how I did my work. And I like that I've come to a place where all I'm really doing is monitoring my own life and not trying to fix others. Because when you go in with whatever you're, helping somebody with, whether it be a car repair or therapist or a designer, it's in need of help of some sort. And I know that I don't want to be in the place of helping people visually make things look a certain way.
Right.
Versus, having a conversation with somebody and finding interest in what they're doing and saying and making sure that's a good balance. So that's why I don't think I have this desire to get back into that world. And I have a desire to still help others now that I say that out loud, but in a way that is just staying present, communicating how and why things worked for me emotionally, physically, all of it, so that others can gain from my beautiful miracle.
Yeah. Yeah. Your book is called Step Into Your Miracle, and the subtitle is Transforming Trauma into Triumph. and you've completed this. It'll be out next month in May. Right now it's April, well, basically April.
Yeah.
But it'll be out in about 45 days,
Yeah.
something like that. How excited are you? How hard was that, given your limitations with your brain and everything else?
It was honestly perfect because I was living things moment to moment. And so I didn't even realize that I had written a book, but it was already in my phone because I had been talking my story into my phone to remember my shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then the process of just letting go of how it comes out and how it works and not trying to control it has been the way that I've been able to step through each of these. And I've been surrounded by beautiful, thoughtful people who have supported me within how to get it done to where it will become a book. And so it's been, again, another part of my brain growth journey. I needed to be able to relook at my life and how far I've come and remember where I came from to be able to appreciate each moment. And this book for me does that. And this book, even when I listen to it, because I listen to it on Speechify to hear my voice in my story. And I'm like, I'll be like, that happened too. And then it's like, creates these beautiful levels of kindness to myself, love for where I've been and where I've been able to come back from is, it's a gift.
What is the nature of a gift? Is it a gift of wisdom? Is it a gift of love?
Mm-hmm. I think it's a gift of allowing myself to just be me, however it comes each day. However, whatever words come out of my mouth, whatever, I don't know, whatever I decide to cook or eat, or whatever that each moment of each day is just each moment. And that to me is not an easy way to live your life from a place where you're not trying to, again, direct your life and get certain things by doing certain things. And that I don't care anymore. I don't find value in stressful, meaninless decisions.
No. This is an odd parallel, but I think it's going to work. So in my former line of work, being a spy, exchanges like this are part of what I do. And when I got to really being at like what I would call the black belt level, I no longer needed to manipulate the conversation. I could
be there. Right?
Yeah, I take my hands off the rein of the horse and let the horse run.
Yes.
I'm going to end up somewhere good.
Yes.
I'm too good to not get something good out of this, right? And so when I became comfortable with that, I could be in the same room as a bunch of other collectors, but I'll get something at a higher grade than everybody else because I'm not focused on the thing.
No.
I'm just allowing something to get there. And when I get there, something, I'm like, oh, stop here. What? Tell me about this. But
don't you think that's just being able to stay present?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because that to me is, again, the big gift is just stay present.
Yeah.
That is the only thing we can do with each day.
Yeah.
So what you're describing is you allowing yourself to stay present brought you miracles.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. The conversations I would have, I would realize like there was these, because I know what I'm supposed to know, right? I know what I'm supposed to ask. And it's great because all these military people are so precious. They're like, oh, Pete, I thought of the question you need to ask. Where are the bombs? And I'm like, oh, no shit. That's one of the questions. Oh, I never would have thought of that. They have all these questions, but reality, we don't know what we don't know. And so my job is to illustrate that. And one of the things I figured out is this working? Are we just running around doing a whole bunch of stuff and accomplishing nothing? And a lot of times that was the case. Or that person who's on our side is accomplishing the opposite of nothing. They're accomplishing negative somethings.
Yes.
And that's
a good point.
Yeah, it was enormously. But that doesn't sound like, well, Pete, that doesn't sound like you're a very good spy. And I'm like, oh yeah, because I'm helping the boss win more and lose less.
Yeah.
And if limiting our losses causes the bar to go up,
Yeah.
every commander will take those wins.
Yeah.
And that's taking the hands off the reins. I don't need to focus on threat. There's a lot of people focused on threat.
Yeah.
If I focus on the other things, instead of looking for a needle in a haystack, I'm standing in a field of needles.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
I like that. That's good. I gotta remember that one.
You're not going to remember that.
I know, probably won't. I might ask you 30 more times, but eventually I will if I put it up on a Post-it note. I see it enough times, but that was a good one.
Yeah.
I am like, and again, I'm such a visual person, always have been. So I'm like sitting here trying to visualize it so that because I do know that when I see something, I can retain it more.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like visualizing that picture right now.
Yes, the field of needles. But I mean, that is part of that gift, right? Is when you slow down and you are less aware of what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
You get to do the things that you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes doing nothing is
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing nothing holds a lot of value. And I know that we weren't raised that doing nothing holds any value. At least I know that I wasn't.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing just in the ways that we were raised to become good this and that, doing is doing. Yeah. You know, but not doing is actually doing as well.
The other day, my buddy John, so I was working on getting my eyes fixed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got cataracts. And so I had to go do my pre-op check-in. And I really kind of didn't plan. Look, I'm adored in my hometown. I can go find somewhere to stay. I'm never really worried about it. But normally I kind of set something up, but I'm like, I just don't feel like doing it. And so I get hold of my friend John, and I'm like, hey, I'm coming in. And he's like, I'm going to come get you from BART, which is the train. And so we did all that. He's like, I'm supposed to be doing other stuff. But we both know that life is too short. By the way, you know, they're right, because my friend Dan dies about a week later, right? Yeah. And so I'm like, yeah, what are we going to do? There's certain things that I can do, but I don't have to, you know? And we both just took that afternoon to do a lot less of what we normally were supposed to do, and did what we needed to do, which was hang out and spend it. And we didn't like go Ferris Bueller's Day Off. We just were together, you know? Yeah. And then I slept on their couch that night. Like it was just like, we're not even worried about this. It was really wonderful to not have all this stress and all the other things. We just were able to hang out. And it was just, you know, a continuing lesson. Like, it's okay to be present, to allow some of these things just to take their natural course.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like that's a gift that you've learned and are having to, I know for me, I have to relearn to remember to do things a certain way. And I think we do in life. Yeah. So that will be something that you will have to put on repeat in your life. Yeah. To continue to take care of yourself in a way where you don't have to be doing something specific, right? Yeah. But yeah, I sit here today. It works.
Yeah, and I definitely believe that, you know, life offers the same lesson in worse and worse grades of that lesson until you slowly learn it. But sometimes it's not always a negative thing. Sometimes there's like, life offers these opportunities to remind yourself of this. You know, one of the big lessons I took when my brother passed was, if I think of someone, let them know I'm thinking about them. If I'm driving through their town, if I'm
yes,
because that's my job. I don't get to let anybody else get a hold of me. It's my job to reach out. And some people do get a hold of me, but I'm someone that connects people. I collect people. And so just, you know, and the other thing is, and I should have told Dan the last time I talked to him, like, I think the world of you, Dan. You know, and I think you're doing an amazing job being a human. Yeah. And I gotta be better at giving those things. So I'm
giving the compliments.
Yeah. But finding something that's special about, like really give them something good. Don't say, hey, that's a great shirt you got on there.
No. But I think internal compliments is like, what comes to you. If you actually, we limit ourselves from actually expressing what comes to us a lot because we overthink it. Yeah. But I don't also do that anymore either. If I like the smile on somebody's face and I don't know them, I'm like, you have a great smile, like, or whatever it is. Or I say to my daughter, or anything that I engage with on a daily basis, I just, the emotions just pour out of me. Yeah. And I'm not concerned about how it looks or how it sounds or how it's taken. Sure. Because it's just there. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. So
the other side of that too is if someone says to you, wow, that's a great sweater. Yeah. You know, and then you got to be able to go, You know what it is. You're right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter
You'd be
did it.
get reminded of things. Oh yeah. It's just like my eye patch. I mean, the people that engage with me about my eye patch, it's now it's funny because it's been enough time to where there's a certain perspective that people have, and some people ask and some people don't. And it's again, it's been this interesting view on how people perceive you per what you wear, how you, whatever.
Sure.
Mine's an obvious, like, and some people are like, they just look at it. They don't say anything. Some people look at it and go, oh, you okay? Is that forever? And then it turns into a conversation, but yeah.
So this is me talking to everybody here. Obviously, it's a wonderful conversation. And the book is called Stepping Into Your Miracle. You guys know what I always say, buddy, read it, buy two, and just see how it fits and see how it feels. I think you'll like what Shannon offers, because I do. I've met this person face to face a number of times now, and she's just wonderful. And so I think you guys will find delight and enjoy diving into her story, and maybe picking up a lesson or two for yourself that makes sense. One of the things we talked about a lot on the show is, I was talking to a guy named the DOC. He's one of the most famous rappers. He was part of the NWA crew back in the 80s. And his girlfriend, Erica Badu, she's like, you carry stuff around that doesn't belong to you.
Ah, that's a good statement.
You know? And so he's like, I better put this stuff down. And then she said the other smart thing, she's like, and if you realize it belongs to you, pick it back up.
Yeah. Yeah, you can keep it. Yeah. That's again, these are all great lessons that all of us are here to learn from each other.
Yeah.
No matter what path we're walking down, right?
Yeah.
We're all the same. We're all equal to each other. We're all important to each other. We all have gifts to give to each other. We don't even realize it. But stay open and stay vulnerable and interact within all of that. Don't work off of fear. Work off of joy as much as you can.